when you ask somebody to sign up for an hour of praying in a room, possibly by themselves, maybe with one or two other people, they're like, how am I going to spend an hour praying? And then when they're done, they're like, can I stay another hour?
All right, hey everybody, welcome to the first official episode of Wait, That's a Church. Joey, how was the inflection there? Is that
was great.
the
I'm
trademark one?
actually, that inspired me to actually now make it a bobblehead of you saying that, because I think that would be fantastic.
Awesome.
I think people actually will buy that.
There is, I've not seen the final of this yet because this was recorded before it was done, but there is a 8-bit character animation that's going to be setting up with, wait, that's a church. And so we're excited about this new show Joey and I are doing. We did 4 episodes as part of a season of the Church Digital podcast. And really, Joey and I, we just have so much fun together. It's like, oh man, let's keep the show going. So TCD's podcast is doing their own thing. Let them figure it out. By the way, that's me. So I'll just figure I'm living bifurcated lives. But actually, we're talking about mental health, and so the two separate beings of Jeffrey, literally in these 2 different shows that both were recorded today. So this is going to be a fascinating time. By the way, we record all of this stuff live in TCD's Church Digital's Discord server. And so if you are not a part of the Church Digital's Discord server, what's wrong with you? Like, go ahead, open up a web browser right now, pause the recording, get off of YouTube. Walt literally just walked in right now. Hey, Walt, how's it going? Walt is new to the community, but I've seen him a couple times already in some of these shows, so great to see you here. And Wait, That's a Church. But if you're listening at home, go to open up a web browser, discord.thechurch.digital, new browser window. Go to discord.thechurch.digital. That will walk you through everything you need to know to create a Discord account and subscribe or join. Whitebeard, what's the official language? Is it
join?
Subscribe? Join?
Yeah,
join the Discord server. I always get that confused. And we've got lots of channels of content and all sorts of exciting things to get into here in the community. Move from just being connected with us and get into the community here on TCD's Discord. And so for the show here with Wait, That's a Church, of course, we got Joey Santos, lead pastor. Is it lead pastor? Pastor?
We don't call like
there's
that.
No titles.
We don't say lead pastor. Now it made me feel like a senior pastor, kind of like, you know what I mean? That's no titles. I mean, nothing against the titles, but we're meeting in the bar, so we're like, hey, that guy.
The guy drinking the bourbon over there. You want to go talk to him. So Joey Santos, one of the pastors over at Church at a Bar, is doing the show with me. And today we're bringing into the conversation my friend, and I'm excited to see where this goes, Whitebeard Punk Monk, whose real name is Tom, spelled with an H. But in the amount of time that I've actually known him, I don't actually think I've actually officially called you Tom. Like, it's awkward even to say Tom right now.
Yeah, it's definitely become a thing.
Okay, I want to almost just ask, why Whitebeard? Like, what? Where did that come from?
Can you see it? I mean,
okay, look. All right, so some of us are listening.
It's fairly obvious.
Some of us are listening. He's got a 12-inch, 14-inch beard. What are you sporting
it's 12
right now?
plus, yeah. So
okay, how much money do you make in the month of December for Santa Claus?
None. Sadly, none.
Have you never done a Santa Claus gig?
No, have not.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Okay. You got the look, man. I'm really kind of curious. Okay.
Yeah, I've got the rosy cheeks too, so
So obviously, wipe.
Come to the bar. You're welcome to be Santa this year.
Thanks. I don't. The honest answer is I don't like little kids enough to probably do it.
I guess this episode is not going to include children's ministry.
Wow. I think we're getting a picture of how this episode is going to play out. So tell us a little bit here, Whitebeard Punk Monk. Tell us tell us your story.
Sure. So I was born a small white child in the ghetto. I was born in Washington, D.C., in Southeast East, which is basically the ghetto of Washington, D.C. Um, lived there till I was 12, moved to South Florida, to West Palm Beach. Did high school and college there, and then I've lived in 14 different states. I have been to all 50 of them, and I've been to 48 other countries. I worked in the entertainment industry for about 30 years doing audio, video, and lighting stuff. So it afforded me a chance to travel quite a bit.
Hmm.
And now I do ministry stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's in entertainment. Like, define that. What were you doing?
So I've done everything from building sets for movies. So my first job was working for Adirondack Scenic Shop in Jupiter, Florida. And I built sets for TV movies for a guy named Burt Reynolds, a few people have heard of. And Burt was actually owned Adirondack. So I built a working houseboat other than a motor that he lived on in the TV movies BL Striker, which then they blew up on set. And I got to go and watch it become splinters. It's pretty cool. And then I've done audio. I've monitor engineer, front of house engineer. Lighting's kind of a hobby. I haven't really been paid for it, except that I'm a tech director at a church. So I kind of do it all now. So
All over the place. Now, that's where you've come from.
Yep.
14 states you've lived in, been in all 50,
Correct.
traveling around 48 countries.
Yep.
Looks like Santa Claus. But there's a punk monk side of you.
Yes.
That gets into some street ministry and some unique expressions of church. And so this is really what I kind of wanted to explore here.
Yep.
Tell us what ministry looks like for you here today.
So I started getting involved in the 24/7 prayer movement out of the United Kingdom in 2001. We was living in Washington, D.C., and we had this thing called 9/11, which affected everybody in the country, but D.C. probably as much as New York. It's the only time I've ever walked out of my house and had guys with M16s on every street corner watching what you were doing. And then we went through, in DC, we went through 9/11, and then we had the anthrax scare, and then we had the DC sniper. Those were pretty much back to back to back within 1 year of each other. So right after that, I did a 24/7 prayer room. It's the first one I ever did. It was in the basement of Trinity Lutheran Church in Washington, D.C., and we did 24 hours a day for 7 days. We had prayer. But different expressions than what you would think. It's not bowing your head and folding your hands. You can paint your prayer. You can sculpt your prayer. You can DJ your prayer. Everything you do in life is supposed to be a prayer. So this is just kind of teaching us how to bring that back. And then I now live in Tampa, Florida, and I'm doing ministry in Ybor City, which is in downtown Tampa. It's kind of the party area of Tampa, and we do all kinds of fun stuff there. You want to get into specifics?
No, I love it. Ybor City. I mean, it's the party district of Tampa is an interesting way to describe it. I mean, it's I'm walking along. I'm seeing DJs in windows. I'm seeing guys rolling cigars. I'm seeing bars at like every other shop. It seemed like, and it was a pretty hopping town. Now, like the punk monk side of you in Ybor City, you've told me stories of dressing up like a monk and meeting people, dialoguing with people, sharing Jesus on the like. Talk to me a little bit about like how you're engaging and dialoguing with people.
Sure.
Personally.
So the whole thought process is go down to Ybor City, dress like a monk because it's memorable. It's kind of a kitschy thing to do, right? and hand out free waters to people who need it, who have been drinking too much and so need to hydrate, and Uber rides home for people who are just too drunk to drive, and give them that option to be able to get home safely. They have to pay to get their way home, but we'll get you. You pay to get your way back to your car, but we'll get you home.
How often do you do this?
The goal is to do it every Friday and Saturday night. Not to that scale yet, so people donating helps. That kind of stuff happen. Everything costs money. Uber costs money. Water costs money.
So, but you're out there majority of weekends then?
I wouldn't say the majority. I try to get out as much as I can. I've got other commitments that I do things with. So I actually work with a prayer room down in St. Petersburg as well, which is south of Tampa, where I do prayer nights with them. And I'm actually DJing worship for them in September for 2 nights in a row.
So you're a DJ too?
Yeah.
What do you not do? I'm curious.
I've never worked in fast food. So for a while I was a radio DJ, and I did a midday show, and the morning show host would call me once a week to get free tickets to things. And it was, what jobs hasn't Tom done? And so we would give 3 options, and they had to pick which one I had never done. But I dug graves for a living for a while. I mean, when you have little kids, man, you got to do whatever you got to do to make ends meet.
Yeah.
I guess so. Joey, have you ever dug a grave?
No, not in that. I don't know. No, not at all. I don't want to.
I've probably theoretically dug some graves, but that's so good.
No, I'm about to dig one right now.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so curious, Whitebeard, because what I like about, I cannot imagine like the conversations you're having. So can you tell us a little bit about like what's the conversation like when you meet people? What kind of questions do you usually hear they ask, and what's just the general, like what's the conversation like?
The biggest thing is, why are you here? Right? They just don't understand why somebody cares. And so I'm playing the long game, right? So this isn't, I'm not out here to putt. I'm out here to hit long irons. And so, it takes way longer to build relationships when you're not all the time there. The goal is to eventually have a space in Ybor City that will be a 24/7 prayer room. So it'll be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Space in Ybor right now is ridiculously expensive. So I can't find a place that's 3,000 square feet for less than $10,000 a month.
Wow.
So it's really hard to like try to pull those kind of numbers together and make that kind of thing work. So, trying to do what I can when I can down there until we, get some kind of break, whether it's somebody who happened to have a building and really cares about people and wants this kind of thing to happen, who donates the space, or somebody, who's immensely wealthy, who decides that they want to, give to a ministry that does this kind of a thing. So I work through the Tampa Underground. And so they're my 501c3 covering. So everybody who gives actually does get, 501c3 receipts and stuff.
I think it's so interesting that you said that the number one question is why you're doing this. They don't understand why we care, which it goes completely the opposite of our mission as Christians, as disciple makers. That is just to go out and do you know what I mean? Like that tells us how much people don't know. Like people outside our circle don't know what the gospel really is, because that's exactly what the gospel should look like. for people to see how much we care for them, right? So,
We also
uh,
don't do a great job of showing people that either. So,
mhm. And
we've kind of fallen down some.
now, do you have more people doing this with you?
Not
Uh,
currently, no.
no. So it's just
No.
you.
Yep. Right now, it's just me. The goal is to obviously grow um, a bigger base to help out with these kind of things.
Now you say you have a prayer room in St. Petersburg. Is that correct?
There's a prayer room down there it's
Okay.
called Zion House of Prayer that I do work with.
Okay. And how's that going?
It's going really well. They're doing 4 nights a week right now.
Hmm.
And they're they're doing it all the time. They're kind of learning the 24/7 prayer model. They came out of a different model of prayer room.
Yeah.
And so they're learning the creativity part of it and those kind of things. And Jeff, I'll send you some pictures and stuff you can throw in show notes if you want that shows,
Yeah.
some of the paintings that have been done, some of the uh, plasticine prayers is what 24/7 called them, but they're all clay.
Wow.
Plasticine prayers, as in like making prayers a physical
Out of
animated
clay, like, yeah, so you're
object.
actually designing things.
What is the? It's interesting. Let me just even back up to that. Like, what's the purpose of doing something like that? Is it like a mental emotional release? Is it like I am not artistic in the grand scheme of things. My daughter got it from, and I don't know where she got it from because my wife and I are not. We're both analytical. So what's the benefit? What's the
Well,
win?
everything was a prayer. If you go back in time, and we'll just go back to Michelangelo, right, who painted the Sistine Chapel. That was his prayer to God. Joseph, Jesus' stepfather, built furniture, but those were all prayers unto God.
Huh.
So it's a matter of taking everything that you do in life and doing it unto God. We've 24/7 as a whole has chosen creativity as a part of that. Um, I think you're probably, Jeff, more creative than you think you are. Um, it doesn't have to be painting or sculpting or drawing. It can be DJing. It can be playing guitar. It can be a whole lot of different things. Um, so I think that people discover gifts that they didn't know they had when they sit down into a prayer room that's very creative based.
Hmm.
Is this like easier to reach people who has not been in church at all? Because I don't know why when I hear you explain this side of prayer, which I think is incredible, right? It's like in everything we do unto God, and such a great reminder, which that's what the Bible tells us to
Mm-hmm.
do. Um, but we don't usually associate prayer to that. Like we always go back to the default thing of Jesus saying, "Let me teach you how to pray." Um, and we always associate prayer to this very um, verbal, if you will, like
Formal.
this very formal um, experience with God.
Yeah.
Like I got, and I don't want to people. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think you guys are introducing this. Uh, I don't think it's unbiblical. It's just it's a new way of doing the exact same thing that we do in a formal way.
Yeah.
So does this like this thing like for people that have been in church for a long time, they look at this like, well, this is not a church thing. By church thing, they mean this is not the biblical thing, but that's what they say. This is not a church thing. Or do you actually feel like it's easier to connect with people that has not been in church for a very, very long time or never been in church at all, and they start to see this from a different lens? Like, do you see the contrast?
I think it's both. So we get a lot of church people who come in and go, I can't believe this is prayer. It's when you ask somebody to sign up for an hour of praying in a room,
Hmm.
possibly by themselves, maybe with one or two other people. Um, they're like, how am I going to spend an hour praying? And then when they're done, they're like, can I stay another hour? And you're like,
Hmm.
yeah, like that's kind of the
Yeah.
point. Like just stay another hour or sign up for another hour. Um, And it's also, so one of the ones I did was in Birmingham, Alabama, and I had a girl who wandered in, 17, homeless, off the street, came into the prayer room because it was warm, right? It's a cold night.
Hmm.
And, we had heat on and we were going to be open all night. So she came in and she got a coffee and she started talking to people and she saw what was going on. And so she asked if she could paint something. And we said, sure. And I'll include this picture, Jeff, with what I'm sending you, but it's actually a picture of Jesus. And it looks kind of like Rastafarian Jesus, but it's holding an anatomically correct heart in his hands. And it's just amazing. This is a girl who really had no experience with church, didn't have a whole lot of experience with art and that kind of stuff. She just painted what she was feeling.
Hmm.
And I make canvas. So she actually painted this on a queen size bed sheet. So I take regular bed sheets, build frames for them, and paint them with kills, which you would normally do to waterproof your basement. And it seizes them like you would canvas and makes really big canvases out of them.
As you're doing street ministry, you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about doing this. You're ministering to people on the street. You're helping them with rides. You're passing out water. You said this. You're doing this for the long haul. Like, are you
Right.
getting repeat visitors? Are you building relationships with people out there? Are they recognizing you? Are they looking for you? Like, I
Yeah.
can't
So,
imagine there's
so
too many monk people out there walking around. So,
right. And that's kind of the thing is that people then go, oh, you need something? Go find the monk. He can help you. Right. So it's become that kind of a thing where it's just they get what's going on. And
so
Tampa isn't the first place I've done this. So it's just a new expression of it.
yeah. What types of, like, what are they asking for when people are looking for you?
Some people actually just ask for prayer. It's amazing how often people will let you pray for them
Hmm.
if you offer it, even if they have no church experience whatsoever. And we're talking about verbal prayers now,
Hmm.
but and they'll tell you things that normally wouldn't come out in regular conversation about what's going on in their lives because you're going to pray for it. And when you tell them that you're going to continue praying for it, and I have an app for that, right? So there's an app for everything. Uh, so there's an app called Inner Room that you can download that actually allows you to track all of those prayers. You can put them in yourself, and it'll remind you daily to keep praying for them.
Okay, that's good. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are Do you feel like the people you're engaging with, are they mostly de-churched? No understanding, or I'm sorry, de-churched. They're burned from the church and walked away. Unchurched, no understanding of church. They are churched. Like who are you
All of the
engaging with
above.
in Ybor City?
It's
All.
it's really an all of the above. I mean, it's we you hear in churches all the time, Sunday is your church day, and then Monday you go back to the world. And that's very much true for a lot of people, right? They go to church on Sunday, but Saturday nights they're out at the club. Um, so it's and then we have the people who are completely not church, who have no real idea what's going on. They see a church locally, right? So there's a church right in downtown Ybor that's in an old cigar factory,
Mm-hmm.
but to them it's just a building. Who's put up a fence around the property so that people won't walk through it. So not a very open spirit to what's going on in your area.
Hmm.
Um, and then, you've got the people who have been to church and really don't ever want to step foot in again because they've seen hypocrisy and that kind of stuff in it. If we based Christianity on the people that are Christians, we would have a really hard time. Um, So we have to start looking at Jesus rather than the people around us.
Hmm.
And are people open to the message? Like, because I'm sure you probably encounter a lot of, or some people with their stories like that. Like, I cannot be in church anymore. I don't want to be in the church anymore for whatever experience they had. Uh, how do you help them to see the difference between
Well,
the people and Jesus?
yeah. So the monk look helps. It diffuses a lot of stuff because there's not very many people who see a monk walking around, right?
Hmm.
It's just not a thing.
Yeah.
Um, so normally they're, in a abbey somewhere, um, and you rarely see them. So to have somebody who's, looks like a monk wandering around, which, I've gotten everything from monk to, are you a Jedi? To, uh, you know, is there a comic convention going on that I don't know about?
That's funny.
Um, because those are things that go on now. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's been, I don't really get into too deeply spiritual in the beginnings. The goal is to eventually have a full like worship service
Hmm.
at 3 p.m. on a Sunday,
Hmm.
because it gives them time to sleep off whatever they've done Saturday night, and before the regular stuff opens,
Yeah.
and then have worship that's DJ led. There's I currently have close to 600 songs on my laptop that are all worship songs, but done in an electronic dance music format. So you can do that, and then I've got a DJ that I've been talking to here in. He lives in St. Pete, but he wants to come up and do these for me, and he's talking about getting into the clubs and playing there as well. This is all based on something 24/7 did years ago, and is continuing to do on the island of Ibiza, which is an island off the coast of Spain. That's a huge party island.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And so they've been doing stuff on Ibiza since I think 2004. Um, and they're there full time now, running a 24/7 prayer room on an island that's specifically set up to be a party island for all of Europe.
What what does multiplication even look like for you? Like, how do you like you're doing this by yourself? You're trying to recruit a DJ to
Yep.
do some EDM worship.
Yep.
What does I mean, somebody comes up and is like, "Hey, I want to volunteer." How can they help? Like, are you looking for another Jedi apprentice to walk around in a robe? Like, are you looking for what 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 would you do with 5 people? Like, how would this thing
Oh, I
expand?
mean, that's more people to hand out water. That's more people to talk to people. It's just like regular street ministry would be for anything. This just has a little bit of a gimmick to go with it, to grab people's attention. But having more people to do that. There's the regular church roles that come up once you start. The service starts going. Um, that need to be filled. Greeters, all of that kind of stuff. People to make coffee.
What's the what's a good day for you? Number of
What's a
people you've shared, quality of conversations, seeing salvations, just praying for someone. Like,
one person whose
um,
life has changed? That's a
so a
good
good
day.
day is a full life change.
Yep.
We talking salvation, like you just
Not even necessarily salvation, but just if you're starting to walk a different path than you're currently on, and it's a better path, that will eventually get you there, right?
yeah.
If you spend less time in the bar getting hammered, then your mind starts working better,
Hmm.
and you can, learn more about Jesus because your mind's not confused by all that other stuff.
Do you do you have a story? I don't want to put you on the spot or make you uncomfortable. Share something, but is there a story maybe you could
Um,
share?
Not specifically with what I'm doing now. I used to do gang intervention um, in public schools in Michigan, and Yeah, I mean, I had a kid there who I met with several times, um, and then went to the alternative high school where they did like baking and pastry and how to fix a car, that kind of stuff. And this kid walked up to me and he's like, "Hey, do you remember me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we were meeting last year." And he goes, "I just want you to know that I'm no longer in the gang and I'm
Mm.
here learning to be a police officer." And so, whether that led to his salvation, I mean, ultimately that's the goal, but he's in a much better place for anybody else to reach him after that, right? I don't have to be the person who sows the seed.
Yeah.
If all I am is planting the seed, that's fine.
You've got people that you're connecting with
Uh-huh.
on the street level. But for you, like your the next step, it feels like, would really be getting a community in place
Correct.
to be able to build some of these relationships. Like you're talking with this kid while you're doing street and you're dealing with him in the school and the gangs, and there's like an organized structured time towards that.
Yep.
And really, I mean, what you're missing is, I mean, I'm implying physical because of Ybor City,
Yeah.
but even like at some level that could be done digitally if you could figure out the digital community component
Yep.
of that.
And I am
But
working on
that's
that. I'm working on a Discord right now to build all of that out, called the Abbey.
mm.
That'll be available hopefully in the next couple of months. I'll be finished building it all out and start pumping it out to the masses.
So then what, you hand out like a QR code or a card or something
Well, I
on the
mean,
street?
no, you don't do that anymore. I have a thing on my phone called Popple, and it just
Okay.
they can tap their phone to mine, and it sends them all the information.
I think if you put a QR code on your back and like, just to have people zap you,
Right.
Um, what the crap is this guy? Even people that don't talk to you, what is this guy walking around in a monk outfit for in the party district of Tampa?
Yeah.
Zap. Oh, this is interesting, or oh, this is weird. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Well, I think so. The ultimate goal for this, for me, is to get this thing in Tampa up and running fully, pass it on to somebody to run, and then take an RV uh, with a what's known as a toy hauler in it. So it means you can like drive a 4x4 into the back of your RV, um, and not put an RV in there and make a portable prayer room out of
Mhm.
it. Because I'd love to go do Burning Man. I'd love to go do Movement Festival in Miami. Um, you know, there's so many things just doing the Grand Canyon,
Yeah.
right? Just drive up to the Grand Canyon and set up a prayer room. You're going to see God in an entirely different way when you're praying to him, like at the Grand Canyon. Um, but being at things like Burning Man and Movement and all these big festivals, Coachella, it's just something different to be there to be able to help become more of that.
So you want to
The
be that? You want to be the guy that like travels around, does the major events?
Yep, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and actually try to train other people to do this.
Yeah.
Right. This is
You,
a. It's definitely different, especially in the states.
yeah. You know
Um,
who you need to connect with is oh my gosh, Andre. What's Andre's last name? Shoot, he runs Barbecue Church. Joey, do you know who I'm talking about? No,
no,
Andre. His last name starts with an A. African American. He lives up in New Jersey, I think. But the reason I'm saying this is he um, has this. His business runs parking for major events. And so he's constantly traveling. He's constantly on the road, doing all these major events up in like up in the Northeast U.S. It's funny. My lights are flickering right now, and so the power may be going out. I may disappear, and if so, Joey, have fun with this. But the but he does like all these major events. Now he runs a digital church, a barbecue church, barbecue assemblies of God, because he's constantly on the road. And because he's constantly on the road, he's like, well, I have to do this digital, and it's one of the reasons why he does
yep.
it. And he like honestly, Whitebeard, he's a like you, where he's got like 5, 6, 8, 10 different jobs. He tried to sell me, diamonds because he deals in diamonds. I was like, hey, that may be a little shady. He's like, no, I promise it's legit. We got paperwork. But hey, I got this like top class diamond that he makes like 60% commission on diamond sales. But that's way too many stories there. There's but I mean, I love this idea of, I'm a digital guy. I like sitting in this chair. I like talking in this computer, and sometimes I think that we lose sight of. I don't want to be like reality, but I think we lose sight of people in the physical world. Like I remember there was a stretch when I was unhealthy last year, where I drove Uber, and Uber, doing rides for Uber, picking people up, took me into areas of Miami that I didn't even know existed. I've spent 30 years plus living in this city. I'm engaging and talking with people that are going through situations that me sitting in this chair doing digital ministry, I had no idea. And
But I will say, though, that on the other hand, there are a ton of people in the digital space who most people never think about,
yeah,
right? So not both are important. Both could work much better together than we currently are, right? Digital ministry and in-person ministry. Those two things can really work well together, but we've dropped the ball on doing that kind of stuff.
yeah,
The hard part is doing the oddball stuff, right? So doing like what I'm doing. There's a 19th century theologian whose name is C.T. Studd, who has a saying that says, most people want to live within the sound of the chapel bell, but I want to set up a rescue shop within the sights of the gates of hell. Well, that's what I want to do, right? I want to set up a rescue shop within the sights of the gates of hell, but there's not that many people who want to do that. Most people want easy, which is fine. But there has to be people like me who are oddballs who want to do that and have no problem spending an hour talking to a homeless person, right? Because most people are going to walk by them. It's like the story of the Good Samaritan, right? All these people walk by homeless people all the time and never think about them. I think about them partially because I've been homeless in my life. So I was homeless for 3 years as a teenager.
yeah.
But, and I have no caveats. Like if I give them $5, spend it on whatever you want. I'm not going to say you have to get a meal because being homeless stinks. And so you need some way to be able to forget the fact that you're homeless. And sometimes that's alcohol. But we need to find ways to reach out to these people and treat them with humanity and respect, no matter where they're at. And we've done a poor job of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing is a personalization of the gospel.
Yep.
We've talked about how church buildings are down to 25% in America. 25% of Americans are engaging actively in physical church, and so the physical church buildings are going to reach the people that they're reaching. We talk about through theChurch.digital how digital helps us reach a different type of person. I think the people that Joey is reaching through the bar is reaching a different type of person than is going to physical church buildings. I'm willing to bet the people that are engaging with you in the monk outfit are not people that are going to church buildings either. And so like it's, we need the gospel to get weird. I think here a little bit. We've tried to, over hundreds of years, we've classied it up and we've made it something that I think actually takes it away from what the biblical impact of it was. And so it's maybe what the church buildings are doing. It's not wrong. I attend a church building on Sunday morning. I don't think it's wrong. I think it's limited in its reach, and there's an opportunity to do something else to reach someone else. Even if it means putting on a monk outfit and walking around the party district. I don't know, Joey. Like you live this in your world. What are you feeling having this conversation?
Yeah, man, I can relate to some of it. Um, Definitely, he got so much experience already doing this on the streets and meeting people. One thing I thought about it is that made me think in relationship to the church, the bar was, have you ever built, are you building relationships with the local bar owners or establishment owners? Because I'm assuming, just assuming, there might be somebody that owns a business where you do the ministry that also they are Christians. They're just like the owners of the bar where we do church. They're Christians. They just never crossed their minds to hold a church service in their establishment. And all of a sudden, this became their mission for the owners of the bar. It became their mission. Like that's how we're going to do mission at this bar is going to be through the church, the bar. So have you ever uh, have this relationship, uh, are you building that relationship with them? You would lose him.
Whitebeard may be frozen. I'm actually looking at the recording and he's not even on here.
Yes.
That's a great point. Hopefully he jumps back on and we see him come to
Yeah.
life to wrap up the show. If not, we'll land the plane without him. But it was interesting. That was actually going to be one of the things that I was going to talk about is some of those relationships. It's funny. Actually, Joey, I was thinking about you in this, where I've got there's a woman that I was about to say I have a relationship with. Not that way. I have a
Hmm.
friend
Yeah.
that is a Christian, and her husband owns a series of bars in Miami. And this woman was actually very influential in Christ Fellowship, the church I used to work at, opening up microsite locations down in the Florida Keys. And so very missional minded, very gospel oriented life. I was driving past a influential area of Miami, the party district, and I
Yeah.
saw, oh my gosh, they've opened a bar right here in the party district. And so I was like, oh my gosh, we really need to open a church here. This would be a great spot. Like churches have been trying to get in here, but it's so expensive. And I actually thought about approaching her and being like, hey, why don't we open up a bar? Why don't we open up a church in the bar? And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to connect Joey to her. That might be something to do and to work through. So yeah, I think there's
Down
a
again.
Whitebeard. I need to get you on Riverside to land. We're going to wrap up the episode, and
Weird.
we're gonna have a fun conversation sidebar in Discord. This is why you people need to be hanging out on TCD's Discord, because we get to have post shows and all sorts of fun stuff
I
on
don't know what's
that.
going
But
on.
here with Wait, that's a church. We're going to be highlighting unique expressions of not only digital, but getting into physical expressions in street evangelism and different things
Yeah.
like that, and talking about that. And Whitebeard is certainly on his way to do that. I would also kind of stick in, I think the next episode, we're actually bringing in Lucas Pulley, who at some level is Whitebeard's boss. He's,
Yeah.
I think his title's executive director of Tampa Underground. And those guys are doing some ridiculous examples of church. So looking forward to meeting Lucas and bringing him on the show and having that
Yes.
conversation and learning more about what Tampa's doing specifically outside of Whitebeard Punk Monk's approach and that. But Tom, thanks for jumping on the show. Joey, thanks for doing that as well. But we're going to wrap and head into the post show for Joey, for a disembodied Whitebeard. This is Jeff with the Church Digital. Thanks for jumping on the show here, and we'll see you next time. Y'all have a good one.